Action determined in closed session. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as a public record. Please stand for the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. I am here. Mario's here. Bob is here. Adrian is absent today. And it is here. And we have a student board member here today as well. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Lisa.
Oh, wait a minute. Approve the agenda with 3 items to be voted on and all time. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to give that second to Mr. Coy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. General, we're going to administer the oath of office to the new student board member. Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. James.
Nice to small. Thank you. So what I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and then when I say I want you to say your name, and then I will do so many words, and then you repeat after me, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. I
H. Mariano,
do solemnly swear. Yes.
do solemnly swear
I will support and defend the Constitution
I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. RTA report. No? CSEA report. Okay. Student board member. What? It's the first day.
That's right.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. CBO report, Mr. Irving.
Alrighty, thanks for waiting for me. First of all, welcome to everyone. I hope everybody had a safe and enjoyable holiday. That it was, not too warm, but just warm enough. On the construction front, TMS ribbon cutting is July 26th at 9 a.m. Okay, good. I got the time right. So looking forward to that is AMS and Medallion and the rest of the contractors make the final touches on the classrooms. As for the business department, we're preparing for 2025 school year, updating forms, getting POs and pay vouchers, and as you can tell from the consent agenda items, things set up for next year to make sure that we hit the ground running 24-25, while simultaneously getting ready to close out 23-24 school year and start closing the books, and so that come September we can do the unaudited actuals presentation of, okay, where did we wind up as the dust is settled? I've had a productive meeting with CSEA today to go over some ongoing matters and lay out the groundwork for this upcoming school year to make sure that we're, all on the same page, both, district office as well as, our classified union, and any questions or concerns or anything that they have, transitioning from one year to the next, that we're addressing them proactively as opposed to reactively. And then just a quick note that, of why item R is on the consent items. There's no substantial changes to the salary schedules, but it's to reflect that, the header at the top is, 24-25 school year is, so when they get posted on the website and everything, we have the most current, and something, folks look at is, okay, this says 23-24, we're in 24-25, is there something different or not? We can, have the most accurate, relevant information out there, easily accessible. So that is it for me.
Thank you very much. Okay, no, I have Dr. Mendez. Okay, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and Curriculum, Dr. Mendez.
Okay, yes, on behalf of Dr. Mendez, I want to state that Ed Services have started data confirmation and processing bus passes on July 8th. We will be having Williams visits at both Tropico Middle School and West Park Elementary. And Williams visits typically consist of their assessing our instructional materials for all students, making sure that all students have what they need to be successful in the classroom, and it is equitable for all students. And also our facility checks. Do we have, for example, water fountains that may not be working, sinks, etc., this sort of thing, restrooms. So those two schools will be on the Williams visit this year. Professional development, we had 34 team members attend the Professional Learning Community conference in Los Angeles this past June 26th. And we have 57 team members going to Avid Summer Institute in San Diego, which is, I believe, 3 more than what we had the previous year. So that's really exciting. And that'll be July 30th through August 2nd. So we're starting to see more and more evidence of added strategies being used in all of our schools. Yeah, so that's it from Dr. Mendez. Thank you.
Assistant Superintendent of Special Education, Mrs. Taylor.
Mrs. Taylor is not here. She's on vacation. She was here yesterday. But I do want to say that last week, Mrs. Taylor and 2 of her team members and I attended a urban superintendent's conference in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the focus was on social, emotional, and mental health. And it was quite an enjoyable conference. There were only 3 superintendents from California present at this conference. They were from all over from the East Coast to the West Coast, a lot from Michigan, a lot from Texas. But we met some really stellar people who were doing some phenomenal things with addressing the vast needs of our students with regard to mental health. And one of the things I found most interesting at this conference is I felt a lot better, and I had to tell Ms. Hargis that one of the superintendents shared that she's from Michigan. She is, as of last Thursday, 52 teachers short to start the school year. And I was like, wow, 52 teachers short. That was very comforting, knowing that we are not in that situation. So I appreciate SPED department accompanying me to that conference.
Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, Mrs. Hargis.
Good evening, and welcome to all of those that are watching. I hope that everybody
students enjoying some time off and enjoying their summer. Summer school is going on. There's another week left. It'll end on the 26th of July. So we have lots of teachers and lots of parents that are working summer school to help some of those students that are struggling. So over in HR, we have completed our hiring process. Now we're in the work of getting those credentials in order and finding who needs, based on their credential, who needs a mentor teacher, who needs the induction program to clear the room and their credential, get all of that stuff set up for the start of the school year. We do have a number of teachers that are going to be joining us from the Philippines, so we're going to be anxiously awaiting their arrival. With that said, we are going to start the school year with a couple of some long-term subs, but we have been working on filling those positions as well. So not only do we hire them, but now we're rehiring them to have long-term subs to make sure that everything starts smoothly. So a lot of work, but sure hope that it's going to be a great start to the school year. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, President. I just want to welcome everyone who's here this evening, and also all of our parents and community members who are joining us online. First thing I want to announce is that the Parent Community Center will be giving away backpacks again this year. And the first day of the giveaway is August the 5th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they're also going to have have an ice cream social at the same time over at the Parent Center. So, and the backpacks are really, really nice. So all you have to do is have proof that your children are students of Southern Kern, and please go over toward the Parent Center. The actual backpacks will be given away from August 5th through August 9th, but we'll only be having the ice cream social on August 5th. So shout out to Alan Mitchell, our grant coordinator, who is planning and putting all this backpack giveaway and the ice cream social together. I also want to advise our parents, our enrollment is the enrollment center is open every day. We suggest it's open from 8 to 3:30. We would like, if possible, for you to call. That number is 256-5000, extension 1150, and make an appointment so you won't be waiting in line, and our enrollment team will be able to address your needs without going back and forth between so many people who are trying to enroll their students. It's really important. The sooner you enroll your children, the better it is for the district, because as Mrs. Hargis said, currently we have our teachers in place, but last year we were not a declining enrollment district. Our enrollment continually went up, and it went up significantly the week right before, or actually the week school started. We had long lines here of people trying to enroll their children. So please, if you can get in there, sooner the better. So we know that we have enough teachers in place to meet the needs of our students in Southern Kern. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. Okay, board member communications. I'll start on the end of this report.
I don't really have anything. It's summer, but we're looking forward to a good start to the new year. We've got a lot of good programs coming in place, and I'm excited for the ice cream social and the backpacks. A lot of good things coming along with construction. Excited about the new Tropico grand opening for the expansion. So that'll be great. And hope to see as many people there as we can. That's all.
Thank you.
And welcome to our new student board member.
Mr. Goodflood.
Thank you, Mrs. Congratulations. We're looking forward to working with you. We've talked about a few things. So, you know, this will be a good experience for you. It really will. Yeah. Couple things, I know I'm hoping to see more administrators here today, but hopefully it'll get to the administrators. We're starting to see questions about students, parents having parent orientation for the students. And we're getting this, well, there's gonna be some time to hear that. I think, in my opinion, I think at least we should at least put an initial contact out to the parents on approximately when we're gonna have these orientations. And kind of update it as we know when these orientations are coming. The questions are starting to come out now, and I think it's a good idea to keep the parents informed of what's going on. So that's basically my big thing for today. Other than that, looking forward to opening up the community school classrooms at Tropico, and pass it on tomorrow.
I hope everybody's having a good summer.
You start tomorrow.
Just having joining us, and can't wait to open up Tropical.
Yes.
It's been many years in the making, and it's finally coming to be. It's exciting. That's all.
Thank you. Me, hi guys. Thanks for being here. Everyone that's watching. Yes, it's summertime still, so we are looking forward to the school year. It's fastly approaching and things are underway. I'm very excited about Tropico as well. Like, you have no idea how I feel about Tropico, but I'm very excited. I see lots of kids at the pool. That's where I hang out. If you're looking for me in the summer, find me by the pool when it's open. I like to talk to the parents, and I met staff, and they talk to me, I ask them questions, and I like to hear what you guys have to say. So if I don't say something to me, and then we can have a conversation and go from there. I'm really excited that you said you're done hiring and we're staffed, so that's really exciting. Get your kids enrolled. I did get my email for data confirmation already, so get that done, and before you know it, school will be starting. So yes, thank you. Any subcommittee communications? Oh, I'm so sorry. Welcome, Adrian. Sorry. No subcommittee communications?
No.
Okay, comments from the public? None. Consent items A through F. Any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I would, if you don't mind, like to have section L, M, N pulled and voted on separately. I've been actively involved with participation in the design, so I don't want to have an appearance of conflict. So if you don't mind, I'd like to have those voted on after we vote the rest.
Okay.
Okay.
For items L, M, and N, do I hear motion by Gutierrez?
Second.
Second by Coy, all in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
And so that's select for item L, M, and N. All right, thank you. Okay, item A, approve resolution 242501 of the Board of Education of Southern Kern Unified School District ordering the election to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2025. We have Bush and Emilio Flores.
Okay, I'm talking you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris here with CFW. I've had the privilege of serving your district for over 30 years. And with me is our CEO, Emilio Flores, who's been working with you for almost as long. But we are delighted to be over here today to present you a brief summary of information that you've already been hearing over the last couple of months as you've been considering a general obligation bond. Provide you a quick look ahead, what would it look like if you were to adopt the resolution, and then either Emilio or I are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I'll start off because Kushner has a bit of a sore throat, so I'll spare him a little bit on the lengthier slides. As the board and public may know, the district has existing general obligation bond programs. The first one was approved by voters back in 2002. Subsequently to that, in 2008 and 2014, these bonds have gone to support the district's facilities improvements as we have experienced growth in enrollment, as our older facilities have aged over time and need repair and replacement. These bonds have been the primary resource for the district to go and address facilities needs. In partnership with those bonds, the district has also been very aggressive in pursuing state aid grants for modernization and new construction. Those programs often require a local match, and that local match has come through these bond programs. So it's not solely on the backs of the taxpayers of your district, but also from the state, making sure that they're able to mitigate some of those costs as you go forward and develop some of these projects. And obviously, over time, those projects have changed. They have evolved. Very happy to hear that Tropico's have a ribbon cutting in a couple weeks. But overall, the community has been supportive over the years, passing those bonds at a 62% rate, a 68% rate, and most recently coming out of the recession at that 57% as well. Each of those authorizations were approved via Proposition 39. Proposition 39 was enacted in 2000. It was set up to provide additional protections for taxpayers. Those included a limit on the estimated tax rate, which is for unified school districts, $60 per 100,000 for assessed value. That's assessed value, not market value. So when you go and look at your tax bill, that's the one you want to look at in terms of the multiplier. It also requires an independent citizens oversight committee, a committee of citizens within the district that help and review the expenses that are there. They're typically there just to make sure that spending is in accordance with what was outlined by the voters and in the bond pamphlet. And then if you apply those things, you go under Prop 39, it lowers the threshold that voters need in order to approve those measures. Before 2000, it was 2/3. We had to go out there and ask for 2/3 approval all the time. With these added provisions, Proposition 39 allows for that lower threshold, which you've cleared each of the 3 times you've gone out previously. To date, all the existing bond authorizations have been issued. So everything that the voters have approved and authorized you to issue, the district has done, and they put them back in the facilities and gone forward. As noted before, there's still a tremendous amount of need, whether it be to house new students or to replace existing facilities. And so with that, we're back in front of you. As Chris mentioned before, we've had some previous conversations, but to present on a potential GeoBond election for November of 2024. Just want to take those.
Sure. So the key steps to establishing a voter bond program is to conduct a survey, which the district has already done. The survey is important because I know you're very connected with your school community, but it's not just the school community who votes in this election. It's all registered voters, and many of them aren't directly connected with your schools. They don't have kids in your schools. So the board took the pragmatic step to ask the opinion of the community to make a determination if they wanted to continue to invest in the schools. It's no surprise to me that the board is highly regarded. The schools are highly regarded currently by the community. They think you're doing a good job, your administrators are doing a good job, and the staff are doing a good job. And the survey came back indicating that it was in fact a support. They do understand that there's an ongoing need, and there is a support for such a program. We then went to work to be able to come back with a couple of options to the board as to the different amounts of dollars you could raise. And based on the support of the community and the needs that your district had, the direction we had gotten is that we wanted to maximize the amount of bonds we could issue. Therefore, we can deliver the maximum number of improvements to the community. That brings us to the stage tonight where later on in the agenda, the board will be considering the resolution calling an election. If the board does in fact adopt the resolution, the next step will be for the district to provide some factual ongoing information to the community so that the community is fully informed as to what your needs are, what the process is, what it's going to cost them, and they can make a well-informed decision, because sometimes it's hard just with the 75 words that you see on the ballot to make a determination correctly. And a little bit later on in your agenda, there is an item where a firm that specializes in these services will be discussing their proposal with you for your consideration. In addition to that, while the district can only disseminate factual information, you can advocate for position. You can tell the community there is a bond, you can tell them what it'll do, you can tell them what it'll cost, but you can't go to the community and say, please vote yes on this bond measure, we really need your support. You can't use any district resources for that. However, as was done in the past, typically an independent campaign committee is set up. They raise their own resources, and then the campaign committee is able to go out and execute a campaign strategy, which involves primarily reinforcing the support of the voters. You already have enough voters to support 55% of your bond. The goal is to go ahead and reinforce their support, be able to get them to go out and vote, actually cast their ballots. And those are done by private funds raised, independent of the district funds, which in turn permits that committee to be able to advocate on the behalf of the district. The county then conducts the election by mail ballots in a polling place, and upon a successful election, the bonds will be issued over time in multiple series, just as we have done in the past. The soonest we would be issuing bonds is probably early 2025, maybe January or February, is when the first tranche of monies will be in the bank, and you can begin or you can continue your school improvement projects.
So tonight, the board will be considering a resolution to call those elections, or call that election. What's included in that is the bond amount, which is approximately $59 million. The ballot language, 75 words that will actually appear on the voter ballot, as well as the back information, the full language of the ballot will also be in there as well, which will include the project list. Those are all the items that are permissible. So the way that the project list is constructed is it identifies specific project, but also provides general projects the district can utilize that language to adjust the program as needed. Obviously, as we talked about before, those projects change over time, so sometimes there's more generic descriptions of those projects in order to give the district the flexibility to present those improvements as we go forward over there. The resolution will do two things. It will establish the parameters of the bond authorization. It will also consolidate that election with the one in November 5th, 2024. Very similar to how you call election for your board members. You have to consolidate it with the general. That's the most cost-effective way of doing it. If you were to hold a special election, first off, Proposition 39 does not allow you to do special elections. It has to be on a regularly scheduled election. Otherwise, you have to be at 2/3. And then secondly, if you were to do a special election, you bear the full cost of that election. It's not dispersed among all the different entities within LA County or in your area as for that. So this is the most efficient way of doing that. Initial draft of that resolution was presented to the board on June 26th. There were some adjustments made to some of the language based on the feedback from the board and some other considerations. But that is the item that would be considered this evening. So as Commissioner mentioned at the last board meeting, there were a number of scenarios presented to the board. The board took into account what the needs were in terms of projects, the projected costs, and based on that, what we've done is we've gone back and, as Kush mentioned, we've established a bond program that provides the maximum amount of authorization possible under Proposition 39. It will levy a tax of $60 per 100,000 assessed valuation, generating approximately $59 million, which we estimate will be available to the district over a period of about 6 years, so 3 tranches of bonds. The board will, and the district will control when those bonds are sold, and each sale of bonds will require authorization from the board to proceed. So it will be incumbent on the staff and the board, along with consultation with ourselves at CFW, to determine what those numbers are. We have modeled it out in terms of what we think the most efficient path is, but needs change, priorities change, and so the bond program is flexible enough to accommodate that. And it's important to understand that all we're asking for this evening is the authorization to place this in front of the voters will approve it, and then the board will subsequently make decisions about when and in what amount those bonds are sold up to the authorization amount. To meet the requirement regarding the estimated tax of $60 per 100,000, the program assumes an annual assessed value growth rate of 4%. So the bonds are repaid through a property tax on all the property within the district. And we know that Prop 13 raises your assessed valuation by 2% every year. That's that little increase you see in there. And on top of that, we know that there's continuing development and resale of property within it. Anytime property is sold and transferred, the assessed valuation resets to the market value. So you may have owned a house for 30 years and your assessed valuation is $110,000 and the market value is $400,000 or some number of that. Under state law, you cannot increase more than 2% annually unless you transfer that property. So the new owner is now on the hook with a new amount, a new tax rate. And that's what contributes to that above and beyond that 2% we see. Historically, there's been ups and downs, there's been some volatility in the district, but you'd be happy to know that the 20-year historical average growth rate is approximately 7.6%. So we are assuming a growth rate that's about half of what your historical average has been over the last 20 years. So a fairly conservative approach to that as well. Also important to understand, these are estimates. The actual tax rates are done by our friends in Kern County. I've said that before, it's in LA before. I know you guys here.
I heard that.
I appreciate it. And I got a little confused. I saw your billboard on the way up here. You know, look for hiring people. By the way, great advertising. But it's determined by Kern County. And so what their actual reserves, levies, and so forth of their assessment, that would be what determines the actual annual rate. The other thing to understand that's worth knowing is that right now we're assuming that the bond term is about 30 years. So each series of bonds would have a maturity of 30 years, very similar to your home mortgage, a 30-year loan. It'll go out. And right now, bond rates, we are estimating an estimated average of about 4.7% interest on those bonds going back. So still cheaper than most mortgages, which is good. But that will vary based on market conditions at the time of the bond sale. This kind of illustrates a little better. So right now, what we're seeing, or we're projecting out, is the first series of bonds, which provide about $28 million, followed by two series of bonds with 15 and 16 thereafter, spread out between 3 years. And this kind of shows you what we were talking about before in terms of the growth in assessed valuation. And so you'll see this very nice little curve that's been going on for the last 10 years. You went back and be all the way down here, and you'll see that the values grow over time. And that's what we're projecting out going forward. The other important statistic to understand is the state, about 10 years ago, instituted what's called a debt repayment ratio requirement. And what had happened was school districts were taking out loans and bonds in ever-increasing complexity and what have you. And we were starting to see that the amount of money being paid back to investors in terms of interest and principal was growing. And so the state instituted a new guideline saying that no bond program approved in the state of California will exceed an estimate of repayment ratio of $4 to 1. So for every $1 you borrow, you cannot issue bonds that would force taxpayers to repay $4 in interest and principal back to the investor. You can't exceed that. So we did an initial calculation based on the program, and the estimate at this point in time is that for the $59 million in principal being borrowed, $136 million in principal and interest will be repaid. That equates to an overall ratio of $2.30 per dollar that's being borrowed. So just about half of what's recommended as the maximum for the state overall. Once again, all of this is estimated at this time for your consideration and to provide you with an outline of the parameters of the bond program. The specific sales of bonds, once again, we'll have to come back to the board and talk about the specific series of bonds and those economics at the time of the sale. But generally speaking, this is what's backing up the numbers that are in the resolution. Because you might want to talk about this, because
Yes. So perhaps one of the most important components of the resolution is the ballot question, the 75 words. This is what voters will see when they go into the polling booth. It is quite limited what we can say in over here. It's not the complete language, but what it contains is a synopsis of what you intend to do with the monies. The second part of the language is legalese that has to be in there. I know the English is not perfect, and I know this is a run-on sentence, but that's the way the law requires us to do it. So based on some conversations with your staff, based on our discussions of the draft language with the board last month, and consistent with what the survey, what the voters are looking for, this is the language, if the resolution were adopted tonight, this is the language that voters would see when they go into the polling booth or when they vote by mail, and they would answer yes or no on this question.
And included in that, as well as the proposed project list, as you can see, we use general language. We don't specifically call out one specific school, so that all these can apply at all your sites, either existing or future. So repair, replace, rehabilitate, improve, update, modernize, construct, expand, all those types of verbs that we typically see in these types of projects. It is the goal to provide specificity so that the public understands what type of project you'll undertake, but also be general enough that you have that flexibility to apply it to all of your sites, existing and future. So next steps, this evening the board will consider a resolution calling that election. And as Kushner mentioned before, in parallel with that, if you do decide to proceed with that, there will be a factual public information component to this that will go underway. The independent committee will conduct outreach efforts of their own independent resources. The county will conduct the election on November 5th. What's really important to understand, I think for members of the public and the board, especially those of you that are running for re-election, the elections are now in October. So with the advent of all of the mail-in ballot initiatives, the fact that we all get one now in the mail, regardless of whether or not we want one or not. If you're like me, I don't like junk mail. If you don't like junk mail, vote early. So the quicker you vote, you get crossed off somebody's list. That person voted, it's not worth calling them anymore, it's not worth mailing it to them. And so it's an incentive for people to vote early. So whereas before there was all these efforts to get everybody to go out and vote on election day, and there's still communities that do that, go to the polling place. A lot of this stuff is done by mail now. It's done a lot earlier than election day. I usually vote within about 4 days of receiving my ballot, and usually I stop getting mail sometime about a week and a half later. So that's a pro tip. You don't want to get all the mail and the phone calls. Election campaigns are very, very sophisticated these days.
I have a point. In talking to Kush the other day, I just want to make sure that I understood him correctly. I believe, Kush, I could be wrong, that you said to me that I could go out because I attend some of the local chamber, RMAC, etc. meetings, and I could talk about the bond, but I cannot encourage anyone to vote in favor of the bond. Is that correct or not?
That is correct, Superintendent Gaines. What I would suggest or request you to consider, if there's any materials you're preparing, run them past bond counsel. There's no additional charge from bond counsel to review those materials, so they can give you a legal opinion that you are not unintentionally advocating a position. But it is correct. You can absolutely provide factual information. So can the board, so can the staff on district time, using district resources. And independently on your own time, if one Saturday morning you bump into a neighbor, you can say, not as Superintendent Gaines, but as individual citizen Gaines. I think this is a good idea.
Did I also understand you correctly that the board could encourage the community to vote for the bond, or is that also no?
Once again, it's going slightly a legal question, but I'll try and answer it. It would be best to run these answers past bond counsel. But even the board, on their own time, and the board has more flexibility because they're not full-time employees of the district. Typically, it is my understanding that on the board's own time, when they're at an official board meeting, the board should refrain from recommending a position or at an official school event. But on a board member's own time, if a neighbor would ask a board member, hey, what's this bond? Do you think it's a good idea or not? I believe that the board can, as an individual, state yes, that this is something that they do support. But it's best to refrain from even any perception of using school resources or on school time, on school district time, to take an advocacy position.
So we would say, you know, like it's a football game, parking lot, like kind of just, but I mean, that's the idea is, you know, in your official capacity, you are still agents of the district, and therefore you should have in your unofficial capacity, in your individual capacity. Obviously, there is freedom of speech, things that come into all this. So as individuals, you're able to communicate with the
Would you read any questions about the 75-word, what do you call that?
The
75
ballot question.
ballot question, because it only gets to the question sort of at the end.
Yeah, I see it, I feel like it is like, it's not vague, but it's like open enough that, you know, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, potentially a new school. Make sure, I like the drinking water part, like I like. So my question, so it's like, raising $3,910,000 annually while bonds are outstanding.
So about halfway down this is everything that's required by the county.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we can't really mess around too much with what this particular language is. And what it's telling the voter is that there was some complaints some years ago for folks that didn't understand, okay, like how you repay the bonds. And what this attempts to do, what's in the State Department, is it attempts to quantify what is the annual tax that is going to be raised on the community as a whole on an annual basis. So what it's saying is that on an annual basis, about $3.9 million will be raised in property taxes to repay these bonds over time. And so, unfortunately, when Kushri says that we have 75 words on the ballot, we really only have like 30 by the time the lawyers are done with all the required language. And so, really, you know, this is kind of where our statement is, and that is why the resolution and the ballot pamphlet actually include the full ballot language and all the nitty-gritty details, the project list, and so forth. All that information will be provided to the voter through that voter pamphlet, because otherwise, like you said, it's very difficult to surmise all of the things you want to do in 45 words or less.
I do have a question about the drinking water, because a lot of that obviously is out of our control with regards to various chemicals and things in the water that is provided to us from the water district. And I would just caution that if I was reading this as a voter and thinking I vote yes for this, then I would expect that I would be ensured that we would have clean drinking water, and the district doesn't necessarily have control of that per se, outside of our bounds. So,
yes, because both high school and Tropico have been on well water, which we have to control and have tested constantly. Going to city water, now it's ensured that we meet those criteria at every time because it's now controlled by the city.
if that's a possibility, and we can, if a voter votes for this, and then we can ensure that they will get clean drinking water because it says it, that would be great. I just want to make sure that that's within our control.
Yeah. Like here, the high school, and Tropico, they're 7%.
Sure.
And being in a rural community is a little different than if we were in the city.
Yes, sir.
It's just regarding the sending the ballots to vote, because are they going to be sent equally like throughout like each demographic, like age, or are they going to be more centered towards like older people?
So great question. So under state law, after COVID, what occurred was legislation was put in place where every registered voter is required to receive a ballot in the mail. So if you're registered to vote, whatever your address of residency on that is typically your agency, what do you give the DMV? Yeah. But but typically, whatever your registered address is on your voter registration, the state is now required to send you a ballot to that address. And if for some reason you don't receive that, there are offices throughout the county, and there's also what we call no longer called polling places, but like they're voting centers. So they're typically going to be open 2 weeks leading up to the election. So if for some reason you misplace your ballot, you can go to one of these voting centers. I don't know how it works in Kern County, but I know in LA County it can be any voting center, but there'll be a local voting center in that area. And if you misplace your ballot, you go check in with them. They'll give you a new ballot. You go on the spot and turn it in. They'll verify that. But under state law, you should receive, if you're registered to vote in the district, you should receive a ballot in the mail, probably no later than the second week of October. It's a great question.
Other questions? Other questions? All right. Okay, board members, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2501 of the Board of Education of Southern Kern Unified School District ordering an election to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Have a second?
Yes, any more discussion, board? Okay, Sunny Hepburn? Yay. Mario Gutierrez?
Yay.
Robert Vincelad?
Yay.
Adrian is absent. Mr. Brandon Coy?
Yay.
Okay, we have a 401 result to proceed with this.
We approve of contract with Team Civics to provide public information services. Mr. Barry Barnes, sorry.
Would you like us to stay for this part to answer any questions or?
Could you, 2 minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Barnes, you're on.
Okay, sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing from the board members, but I congratulations on approving placement of the bond on the ballot. Having looked at your polling, I think that was a very wise decision. Your voters are clearly in support of a bond, and so I think you're starting in a very strong position. My name is Barry Barnes. I'm with Team Civics, which is a firm that works with districts throughout the state on bond measures and parcel taxes. We've worked with literally hundreds of districts, including some in your neck of the woods in Kern County on similar measures. The proposal you have in front of us that we prepared upon request would be to assist the district with 2 months of public information. I'll say from the start, this is not anything that would be construed as advocacy, because as was clarified earlier in the meeting, now that the district has placed the measure on the ballot, or actually even before the district placed the measure on the ballot, the district's funds cannot be spent to advocate for the measures. So nothing produced under this contract or this work or the district would say to vote yes, would ask people to volunteer, would ask for donations, would talk about the pros of the measure without talking about the corresponding criticisms of the measure. It's all very balanced, informational and educational information. If the district would like our assistance in providing that information to the community for the next 2 months, which would be prior to ballots being mailed, they would be essentially starting relatively immediately, working with the district to post the messaging on the website, produce a piece of direct mail, do a modest buy of digital advertising to point residents back to the district website. You have a proposal in your packet for our services, which come in at around $29,000 to do that.
Content standards that are appropriate for that grade level in that curriculum, in that content, whether it's English, math, whatever. I don't know that there's necessarily, when we look at those essential standards as we go from K right up the gamut to 12th grade, I don't know that there's necessarily gaps, especially K through 8. What in the curriculum, what we see is what happens is there's gaps in the students.
Right.
And some of those, you'll just hear me out, some of those gaps are caused by student absenteeism. Students who come into our district from other districts, sometimes there's a lot that comes into play
No,
here.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing.
Right.
How can we achieve that little bit?
How can we close those gaps?
Can we do like maybe a school program that helps pull that together? Or, something to bring to the kid that's struggling when he goes from one group to another, or from another school to our school. How can we get them up to speed? I really like that a couple of years ago we implemented the reading program at the school and the math program.
Which we still have.
And I think it's really helped bridge those gaps. So I just want to continue that I don't know how to express it.
You think it's okay if I put close the achievement gaps with extended learning opportunities?
That would be perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good. That's yes, know what I need.
I know what you're talking about, Mario, because when I moved out here when I was in 6th grade and we had to move back, I went back to this big gap between what was being taught here and what was being taught there. And there was no way to close that gap. So I had to be a little demoralizing, but I think I got made better.
And Mario, to answer this another, we're also working with Dr. Becky Wetzel, and she is helping us make sure that we're focusing on the essential standards at each grade level when we're teaching, and not, we're focusing on the essential standards, not so much the fluff standards, but those standards that the child needs to prepare them for the next set of essential standards. So that's the work she's doing in our elementaries, Tropico, and also we'll be doing with high school this year.
So, one thing that I see that we have a student that will fail the first semester in, say, Algebra 1. And the next semester we put him in Algebra 2 or continue on. Well, he hasn't mastered the first one. How is he gonna, he's set up to fail the second semester.
Depends on the situation.
I'm sure, but I'm just saying, it is, how can we
Kind of,
make sure they gotta make sure they don't
pass. Slide under.
They don't wanna go to, like Spanish 2 if you can't master Spanish 1.
Right. Typically, Algebra 1 is a year-long class.
It is, I know,
Yes.
but I just, I see some of the report cards that we get to see. And we've got this student enrolled in, biology when they couldn't even pass regular science. And it's like, how do we expect them to succeed? It's almost like saying, okay, you're gonna forget all about fractions and then you're gonna go into algebra.
the ideal situation to address that probably is that, summer school, that student would need to make up, maybe, let's say they did not do well in the first semester for whatever various reasons. Maybe they didn't really apply themselves. And then the second semester, they realized, oh, I better get on it because I'm missing how many credits that I did not do well in the first semester because of my own doings. That happens too, a lot. And then, so what might be the answer is that the summer program, we have 2 sets of summer school. There's a total of 6 weeks there. If the student then is sort of transitioned into, sometimes there are teachers teaching summer school where they can, repeat the first semester of Algebra 1, or if they go into a digital program that would allow them to make up. We offer those also in summer school. But I think the thing that we really have done well, the high school and alt ed did improved this past year, was not waiting for these students who sometimes you see in expulsions who have 2 or 3 years of failing grades, and then they're finally sent to alt ed, where alt ed is sort of they're expected to perform a miracle with this student to catch them up 120, 150 units, when really last year we talked with the high school, did we not, and we said you cannot wait. If a student is a year behind, they have not achieved those credits, you can't send them 2 or 3 years later to rare earth and expect for rare earth to do all the catching up. So we need to do a better job of assessing those students who are failing. Not only maybe first semester might be they should be on our radar first semester, but definitely by the end of that freshman year, those students, that should be addressed immediately so that they are kept on track to graduate and they're able to catch up. So I think that's probably the best way to take care of that, what you're worried about.
Mrs. Gaines, can I add something else we did too?
Yes.
We offered after-school credit recovery for those kids who failed first semester. So if they failed first semester Algebra 1, second semester, they did after-school credit recovery to make up.
Yeah. I'm not saying that happened a lot, I'm just saying that's one of the rules that I feel like get pushed up. Now we're considering a contributor, having passed any of the classes as a freshman.
So how do I want to word that?
Better means of intervention?
Yeah, more intervention.
Early, thank you, Dr. Key.
Robert, I think you and I had talked about that first year about, we pay attention. We're always looking at all the kids that are really excelling. And I think you and I talked about, we really need to start paying attention to the kids that are not. So this, just kind of dovetails with that conversation you and I had way back when. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Anything else?
I'm next, okay.
Yes.
First of all, so I don't get in trouble with our folks in Cadet Corps and athletics, we need to get that weight room as soon as possible.
Weight room.
You knew that was coming. Sorry. You did it as soon as possible.
Did you say locker room also?
The locker room would be my next one.
Slash locker room.
Yeah, or slash locker room,
I'm
yes.
reading your mind now, Bob. That's all right.
Because there's a little area in there that I really have an interest in, and that's the safety and security of our officials. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
anything, are you done, Bob?
No.
Oh.
Expanding CTE pathways.
Now, what do you want?
More pathways?
I want more stuff in the CTE pathways,
More stuff in?
more courses. Photo, photography. We have photo, don't we? We haven't had photo in a while.
We have photo,
We have
We do
photo.
have photo?
but it's not a CTE.
Because I haven't seen anything on it or whatever.
Yeah, it's just not CTE.
Okay.
It was brought back last year.
That was always compromised.
And Tropico has it also.
Okay, sound engineering, this is all under CTE.
So you want that class under sound engineering?
Sound engineering.
Let's play with, the new stuff that they.
Also would be included recording
We have,
engineering.
we have the recording studio.
Yes, you do. So we probably need to look at it to expand and so forth.
Further down the paper, allows you or I write.
Media and engineering design. Media, by media, I guess you could say audiovisual engineering design, which includes sound.
Isn't that what Mr.
Yeah.
Armstrong
No, he does not.
teaches visual
There
imagery?
is,
And Clayson teaches, music, recording
the
studio.
music has a beginning, but in pieces we don't.
It's going to its second class, they added the second.
Yeah, there's, and that's why I'm saying expanding and so forth, because I already know Lancaster High School has that engineering class and program going right now.
The engineering
And
pathway.
the other is we need to look at, because we have the drama classes and that, the lighting engineering. That in itself is totally different than the audio engineering.
We have stage.
Yeah.
It's combined with the advanced drama.
But you see myself.
We just don't have teachers.
So Bob, when you say lighting engineering, do you mean for the black
Theater
box, for
Theater
the
lighting.
theater, or do you want a class in that?
We need a lesson.
Could it be maybe tied in with the drama because it has to do
It
with.
is already tied in with advanced drama. It's two different classes that happen at the same time, in the same classroom.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about that later.
Because that whole technology is changing almost rapidly. You need to be prepared for it.
Anything else, Bob?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Granted.
Well, I agree with Mario about the dress code, but I would actually like to see it updated and modernized as well, so it is enforceable. I think that's been an issue, is that some of the things might be a little outdated. Yeah.
All the pants that you buy have holes. And then,
Slits.
yeah, just like holes in the pants, and then like, the kids are wearing them to school, and I'm like, hey, show it's skin. The Canyon Tire doesn't go with that code either. The Canyon Tire statute we have in our dress codes doesn't align with it.
I know we are bringing Mandarin, that's amazing, but I would also like to see even more A through G offerings for full language, more Spanish offerings if we could, but an option would be Tagalog, since we are hiring people from the Philippines, and also if we could push that into the middle school as well, that would be great to get them started there.
So are you interested in, when you say more Spanish, let's go there first.
Well, I think there's limited Spanish offerings now, and not all of our students can meet their foreign language requirements due to space and for A through G.
We have more students signed up for Spanish 1 than we have seats. But with Mandarin being offered, that offers more seats for level 1
Okay.
foreign language.
So
Yes, that was
we,
true.
if we are predicate the number of teachers on the number of students needing foreign language 2 years. Now we're gonna possibly have 2 periods of Mandarin and probably so many periods of Spanish 1, Spanish 2. Do we have Spanish 3 also?
We do have Spanish.
Okay, not 4?
No.
Yeah. So could we accommodate the third language at Roseman High, you think?
I don't know if we could, at this point, accommodate a full-time, but maybe splitting with Tropico,
Okay.
A teacher splitting, because we would have to start at 1. And with 3 different classes of level 1, I'm sure we'd get some interest, but you'd have to see what the students are, do they want to take Tagalog, you know?
That's, like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, since we have teachers coming in from the Philippines, but do they want to teach that, or are people interested in learning Tagalog? Like,
There's some pretty robust Tagalog programs in California that people are.
If we could offer a foreign language that the kids would love to take, it'd be Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the new, like, anime culture, stuff like that, absolutely, they would take it.
I want to say French. I have a lot of friends that
We,
like that. French.
Well, yeah, French, German,
what do we have for like Solidarity?
Along those lines, I'd like to see that we do offer 4 years of Spanish. That way students could be eligible for this bilingual seal on their diplomas.
4 years of Spanish?
I think that's the requirement, 4 years of the same language.
I'm gonna turn my page here, continue. Okay,
There is a difference.
We do have SILSA by literacy though, a lot of our EL students get SILSA by literacy.
Yeah, that's great. And keeping in mind, expanding these things to all of it, but specifically, I'd like to explore work study options and vocational opportunities for some of our students. Especially alternative.
work study options, and what was the last part of that?
Vocational options for students to earn credits, internships, et cetera, those areas.
So Mr. Noderman is working on that right now as well.
And primarily you're concerned with both ed.
Well, I think that's where it typically resides, but I wouldn't say that, I don't think it has to be there, but I'd like to give some of those students options for vocational pathways as well. That's it.
That's it. Then when Ms. Rendon is back at our meeting, then I will give her an opportunity to provide input for her as well. Was there anything here, the one that shocks me? The one that shocks me, which is gonna happen anyway, there's no construction on here, which is
happening already.
It's just
Well, the
happening.
waypoint's on there.
Yeah. The construction,
Yeah,
program going.
yes. Yeah, I just was,
I want a
I
greenhouse,
thought for
show
sure-
us the greenhouse.
I thought
There
for
it is, add it
sure
on there.
Mr. Bensalette was gonna tell me he wants the CTE building.
Oh, that's definitely, one of my, one of the goals,
Well,
but I know we're not gonna get there yet.
they actually were doing, buildings that, were similar to the, they call to buy the kids at the Home Depot. Like little storage sheds. They were building those at the school, and they come with full electrical, they hook up, along with, some of them actually had solar panels on. And they were doing those at the school, and then they would follow them off to buy materials to do other work. Now, this has been about 3 or 4 years ago that they did those. And then, maybe 2 or 3 years that they did, they renovated some trailers during that construction pathway. They took some, I think they were Airstreams, and they got them, redid them, and then made them into like workstations for, and I think the base is the ones that requested those. Because the equipment was, they supplied the trailers and materials.
I remember them working on it.
Oh, yeah. You're coming back to that is a CTE program as well. But when you mentioned about building, we need a building that is built around the CTE programs, not a building that we shoehorn them in.
Oh, you want to build a building house?
That's correct.
Okay, well, that'll help.
But you did not tell me that.
I did not tell you that now because I think that's a little down the line.
That's not line with that.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yes, thank you.
Item, approve resolution 242502, biannual adoption of the conflict of interest code.
Yes, Madam President, this was on the board agenda last meeting for your consideration. It's brought back tonight. I believe last meeting there were no changes advised to the, this is the Form 700 that you fill out every year with Salma's help. And if there are no changes advised, then we need to accept the conflict of interest code as written. Yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept?
A motion.
Motion by Ms. Litt, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Coy. The Adrian, any advice?
Yeah, so on my own time, like during social media, majority of the school like follows me. So I like just posted like a poll or like a question like, what are things about the school that you have to change to see what the majority of the kids in the school agree. And I like check and I have them here. And besides that, I also wanted to like add some stuff like for my personal goals for this school year. And one of them was actually brought forth by Hayes was increase student turnout rate, right? And these are the ones that were mentioned most frequently in my what they were saying. I know some of them are. It'll be very tricky for me to like persuade you guys to like go forward with it. But the first one.
Let me hear from you. Yeah. Let me go back and you take what you have and then we'll do the vote. We'll resume the vote on the conflict.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye. Do those things. Make sure you put it in the
Alright, Adrian, lay it on us.
All right. So the ones that I want to like pursue is cleaner restrooms. That's the main goal, and I know that you need steps to do it. Like it's a whole complex process. So maybe I was thinking, I know there's vandalism laws like district enforcement because I know kids are vandalizing, and the vandalism makes it very uncomfortable, and kids would rather wait home for the end of the day to get the rest of the day going through unnecessary stress. And then second is the vending machines. I don't know about that, but that's just the goal. Vending machines, kids tell me like they wish some vending machine would work so they could buy one. They don't work. Like no, they do not work. Right?
It's constantly being serviced by the company, like, they change them out. They come, they service it, they leave, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Look at, I'm gonna get myself coffee machine. We'll talk to Nathan about that. That'll take a long time. Someone else.
but you know, vending machines are ASB ran and, ASB president right there.
Mr. ASB President, you're in charge of the.
ASB runs vending machines.
Well, then I know.
That's all good.
Oh, that's good point. That's good to know is they're not working, they're not functioning. What's the point?
And Adrian, I can tell you that once your new cafeteria is open, the various foods that you will have available, both from the cafeteria and the, what I call the a la carte area, will be a lot more than what you currently have.
Just remember, you're going to have that contract, you're responsible, but in that contract, if they're not working the way you can fire them. Don't be afraid to do it.
I've asked that, I should have it.
But
Should keep looking.
you can put poison pills in. Anything else?
Oh yeah, and I would always think we'll hear you guys pass like the legislation to change the food producers, but a lot of them were complaining about food, like the quality of the food. Told me I already passed it, so that's good.
Yep.
And this one might be up for a bit of a contentious argument because I was actually talking to it was like March, some person, like some group of people that come in and expect us to like talk to the students about the school, how the school is. And I know the principal recommended me and a few other students to go talk to them.
Wash, it's my wash.
Yeah, wash. And I know Madison brought it up, extra credit, bring it back, but like that might be up for like the contentious argument because like it's kind of the kid's responsibility, but that could also really help you like with your goals, like past like to limit failing extra credit. And I do know that I'm not gonna say names, but teachers do offer extra credit like somehow. So just making it legal would make it better for teachers not to like swoop by the law to no more extra credit.
Is extra credit illegal?
No.
It was part of the new grading policy that we're not supposed to offer extra.
Really?
Because it should not be. There's a history of, for example, I'm gonna go to elementary for a minute. Kids, if you bring some tissue boxes, you will be given extra credit. When we're talking about the academic grade of a child, what they can bring, their behavior, none of that should be considered in their grade. Their grade should be based on their ability to learn, their ability to grow from one assessment to the other, using not only the mean, but the mode and the median in giving that grade.
But what about extra credit for doing an extra essay to get English?
Well, that's how you get around it, because you retake it.
What's that?
You retake it. Instead
It's a
of,
retake, it would be considered.
then you're actually learning the concept, right?
Well, yeah, say, okay, you're a little bit behind in your English. And the teacher says, okay, anybody who wants to up their grades, we need an essay on whatever, like that.
We also do Saturday school by offering kids to come in and get content they're not understanding and to earn more points by coming and reading content.
Okay, but they get points for that, because it is a grade, something that can be graded.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they should be given the opportunity to do retakes and to, you know, as many times as necessary.
I think the
That's
issue,
the issue.
yeah, right. So I agree with that, but I think the issue might be if you didn't meet certain standards or you missed class or whatever, or failed this assignment, then doing an essay doesn't necessarily address the standards you missed. So if you can maybe redo that assignment or something like that, that would probably be, well, opinion-wise, but maybe better than you missed 3 days of algebra, so if you just write me a paper on the history of math, it doesn't necessarily meet what you missed.
I hear what you're saying, like my first vote, I almost got a second grader. put my first grader like on certain spelling tests. Like we would drill it in her, and then she'd get in there and take the test, and she'd miss a few. And her teacher would be like, okay, well, you know, we're gonna allow her to retake the test. It's gonna be on this date. So then we're like, flashcards, you know, to get ready for it, and then, you know, the grade would go up. So she would retake that test.
And I think that that is a result, Sunny, of the work that our teachers, our admin is doing with Ken O'Connor, who is an expert on grading. And he's a firm believer that students should be given multiple times, multiple opportunities to learn. I mean, is that not what we want them to do, is to learn and master the standard? And sometimes it's hard to get everybody, you know, grading is very personal to everybody who's ever taught, but we're doing better with it. Would you not agree? We're doing better, and kids are being given one more opportunity, so I like the way you're thinking.
And I know that some teachers are very strict on not accepting any late work or anything like that. Maybe that's more along the lines of what you're kind of addressing.
Yeah. I mean, there's two sides at the principle for college.
Right, exactly.
I take college classes, they're not union, so yeah. So yes, it works. Yes. And the last one, like I said, is more person for me increased to their turnout rate. Just like I said, almost from school increase the turnout rate.
We talked about that.
What was that increase by?
Student turnout rate.
Like at events or
Just
No,
votes, like
Ed mentioned he did a survey and they got 100 responses. And I went back to, Adrian and I said, hey, Adrian,
Involvement.
is the students
more
more involved in answering those surveys?
more student voice.
Yeah, more student voice. I think what Adrian is doing here is he's already expressing the voice of the students.
Yeah.
He's gonna take that back saying,